host. Welcome to GGC News. There was a recent outbreak of botulism at GGC. Botulism is a rare neuropathic, potentially life-threatening disease caused by toxins released by a gram-positive spore-forming bacteria called Clostridium botulinum. Clostridium botulinum is a bacteria that makes spores which act as a protective coating to help survive in extreme conditions. They create and release exotoxin in the food that it's growing and thriving in. It thrives in improperly canned, preserved, fermented food cans and provide the right conditions for spores to grow to make botulinum toxin. The conditions which these spores can grow are low oxygen or no oxygen anaerobic environment, low acid, low sugar, low salt, certain temperature range, and a certain amount of water. People get sick by ingesting foods that contain the toxins. They don't actually get sick from the spores. The spores cause no harm, even when they're eaten, but under certain conditions, the spores can grow and make a person sick from the lethal toxin that it produces. The most common source of foodborne botulism is often canning of foods at home, which has low acid content, such as green beans, corn, and beets. All known signs and symptoms are diplopia, which is double vision, blurred vision, ptosis, which is drooping eyelids, slurred speech, dysphagia, which is difficulty swallowing, difficulty breathing, a thick feeling of the tongue, dry mouth, muscle weakness, and if the disease is foodborne, there will also be abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. The symptoms all result from muscle paralysis caused by the toxin. If untreated, the disease may progress and the symptoms may worsen to cause paralysis of certain muscles, including those used in breathing, and those in the arms, legs, and trunk parts of the body, from the neck to the pelvis area, called the torso. People with botulism may not all show these symptoms all at once. Foodborne botulism occurs when a person ingests the botulinum toxin, which leads to the illness within a few hours to days. Outbreaks of foodborne botulism have potential to be a public health emergency because the contaminated foods may be eaten by other people. A frequent source is, again, home canned foods prepared in an unsafe manner. In foodborne botulism, symptoms may generally begin 18 to 36 hours after being eaten, and however the symptoms may begin as soon as 6 hours after or up to 10 days later. The prevention is store canned foods properly, label and date the jars, and when you store them in cool, dark places. For best quality, store between 50 to 70 degrees. Can no more food than you can eat in 1 year. Botulism antitoxin must be administered as soon as possible. Antitoxin doesn't reverse the paralysis but arrests the progression. Recovery follows the regeneration of new neurological connections. Exercise meticulous, intensive care, including monitoring the respiratory function. When required, mechanical ventilation might be required for a few weeks to months. Death may also result from respiratory failure as a consequences of extended paralysis. About 5% of patients die. Recovery takes weeks to months. Those who survive may have fatigue and shortness of breath for years. In 2015, there was 199 cases of laboratory-confirmed botulism reported to the CDC. Of those, 39 were foodborne, 141 were infant botulism, 15 cases were wound botulism, and 4 cases of what were unknown. Now, if we'll take it away to our expert in the field, Tyler.
Normally, a stimulus triggers acetylcholine to fuse with a SNAP25 protein on the synaptic membrane so that the neurotransmitter can enter a neuromuscular junction and cause a muscular contraction. However, when botulinum neurotoxin enters the synaptic junction and enters the synaptic knob by endocytosis, the neurotransmitter is unable to be released. The active part of the neurotoxin, the light chain, exits the vesicle. The light chain then cuts the SNAP25 protein, which enables the acetylcholine to bind with the synaptic membrane. This causes there to be a lack of acetylcholine in the Neuromuscular junction. Paralysis is a result because there is no stimulus to activate muscle contraction.